What's up YouTube? I am Nobody, and this is the intro video and sort of catch up to my $32,000 duplex renovation. So just as a brief, this is the first renovation that I've gotten into, and it was one of these deals where I had looked at a few duplexes in my hometown and nothing was really working for me. I wasn't really sure how to go about estimating rehab and getting into one at the right price and everything. And so I looked at 3 or 4 and it just wasn't really clicking. Then this one here came along and I thought, if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna have to do this. Okay, so we went ahead and bought this place for about $35,000 or $32,000. In a future video, I'll go through all the financials and talk about the rehab costs, the acquisition costs, holding costs, all of that type of thing. I'll talk about, everything that I did wrong, maybe a few things that I did right, hopefully. The way this video is gonna work is that I'm gonna go through where we've been, get caught up to today, and then from here, this series will be more or less in real time. And I'm not really doing this to try to hit the YouTube lottery. I'm just kind of doing this to track my progress, maybe have a little bit of diary of my thoughts and feelings and everything and what was going on throughout the renovation, and be able to look back and see where I came from. If you stick with this series, you're going to get all the financial information. You're going to get a review of the estimation that I did for the renovation. I still have the paper that I filled out when I first walked through and when we first got the place. We went through and made a list and everything, and everything went wrong. So there's going to be a lot of tips and advice coming toward the end of the series. So if you stick with it, you'll get benefit there. But basically right now I just want to do a walkthrough and get a status on where it is now, and then I'll roll in some clips about how things were before. 2 years ago I was working on that window right there, trying to get that thing in. I did a terrible job and had to redo it. That window actually fell out later. And then, so this is the living room. We're on the north side of the duplex. There's the other window. Here's all the cabinets. Or that's going to be a tip. I bought my cabinets right away because it was a sale. That was a big mistake. So walking through the living room into the kitchen. So here, this is where the kitchen would be. That's all been taken out. I had to rebuild a bunch of that back wall. Ceilings are out. Slats are still up. Those are all going to come down. This is the bathroom. Lots of work to do in the bathroom, obviously. You can see, and that's the channel we're going to run our HVAC through, right through there. Heading upstairs. Oh, it's bright up here. Heading upstairs, as you can see, there's a line at the top there. That's where there was drop ceiling in the room, and we've taken out the drop ceiling and we're just left with the ceiling slats. Right now, that's going to be our project this weekend. So this is the actual bedroom. So looks really good. That back wall had to come down, and the ceiling's got to go up as well. And this is the side there was fire damage on. You can see that patch in the floor. We'll talk more about the fire damage in a future video, but there it is. All right, back to the living room. The door for the basement is here. I did all this with an action cam, but I can't assault your eyeballs with that. The audio sucked. So here's the basement. It's a little weird right now because there should be a dividing wall right here. Right, so that's all taken out. It was all eaten by termites. There's the doors. I should have some clips of the doors going in. doors that are out to that used to be going into these utility rooms. So there's one utility room where the laundry goes, right there. Right, and then going on to the other side, again, new windows that we put in the summertime, and the opposite utility room with the laundry area right there. Now, starting upstairs in the south side of the duplex, this is the side that we've done most of the work in. So you can see here where we've closed in the ceiling of the living room, the drywall, and we patched where the drop ceiling used to be. So that's all looking really good. We still got to tape and mud and everything. Brand new steel door. Nice. Coming into the kitchen. All right. The can lights are in. We have some taping already done in here. So here's the bathroom. We didn't demo the bathroom walls quite as much as we did on the opposite side. That hole right there, that hole remains open so that we can run our HVAC through there and up to the second level. So there's that. Now, heading to the stairwell through the kitchen. Oh, everything we got here. Boom. Can light above the stairs. Put that in, I was very happy with that. So, we have the same basic layout. We got this room in front of the bedroom, and we've got this ceiling pretty well closed in. It looks so much better in here than the other side with ceilings exposed. Just can't believe how stark the difference is. So we got these windows drywalled in, and then here is the bedroom. All right. And same thing in here. And we have this open. We had a return in the floor. That return is going to be moved into the wall. I got my HVAC guy coming. And then we got that window closed in. And yeah, everything's good to go. All right, so here's the recap portion. This is 7 days following the close on the duplex, and this is the original kitchen that you're seeing here before any demo has taken place. And here, of course, we are with the cabinets all removed and the floor looking all nasty. I'm fortunate on this day to have my wife helping me. Here we are demoing near the front door. Here's some more gratuitous shots of nasty floor that we're ripping out. This part of the job seemed to go on for way longer than it should have. All right, guys, I'm over here in the morning time because that's when I have to work. And it's about 16 degrees inside my duplex, which is great. And so one thing about the flooring in here, so when we did the initial visiting and inspection and everything, I noticed there was about a 3/4 inch step up from the living room into the kitchen area, and then also another step down back into the bathroom. And so we started just demoing the floor. I mean, the tile was ugly. We thought about keeping it, but you know, that was obviously not an option based on the fact that I want this place to look nice. I want a good ARV, and I want the people who come here to view it as rental to think it's one of the nicer rentals in the area. So we started demoing up the floor, and I thought I would find, you know, a 3/4 inch ply or something like that used to reinforce a shoddy subfloor. Instead, what I found is 7 separate layers of flooring. So what we have here, let me get you down, see if I can get this. We've got this sort of, like some sort of backer board, like a cardboardy kind of backer board that was under this white layer of tile. and then another layer of like an underlayment under a very similar layer of tile, and then another layer of what looks like 1/4 inch ply, and then 2 more layers of tile. I don't know if that's 7, but there were 7, whatever it was. It's pretty bad. Here we are removing those drop ceiling tiles to expose whatever problems we're going to find in the ceiling itself. As you can see behind my beautiful wife there's just a piece of drywall precariously propped up in the corner there. That's the barrier between the living space and the attic. Here with all the tiles removed, we see there's 2 pieces of drywall just sort of hanging out up there. Terrible repair. I believe this is in the back bedroom. Similar situation going on back there, except the ceiling is even worse. Now here we are demoing the plaster off the lattice. Later on we would find a much better way to do this, was using a shovel or a scraper tool to do this from either a short ladder or from the floor. On the same day we decided to take a nice shot of the front of the duplex to make sure that we had a good before picture of it before we started ripping everything away. Now here's the first real repair that we're attempting. My windows had come in by this point, and this particular window was actually broken, so it was a security problem. It didn't go all the way to the top, it did leak water, and this was just bad. So here I am taking screws out of the corner bead, which made me very upset that the corner bead was screwed in like this. But as you can see, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just kind of poking around with a tool, trying to get this apart in any way I can. And it's clearly not working. And so, use more tool, try to figure it out. Eventually, I'll get all the corner bead off, I'll get the drywall away from the window, and I'll break the window. I didn't actually get that on camera. That I was using a pry tool to attempt to pull it, to pry the window away from the frame, and I ended up breaking it. Well, here I am using the pry tool unsuccessfully to get the frame of the window to move. So anyway, so this goes on for a while, and then finally I'm faced with the fact that now I have a giant gaping hole in my building and not a very good path to fixing it, because I've never put in a window before, and so this will be the first time. And as I mentioned earlier in the video, this window will fall out eventually. I've always said that I hate pictures in videos because it's a video, not a slideshow. But here I have to show you this picture. This is the flooring in the kitchen in the north side of the duplex, and this is the most beautiful incorrect repair that I've ever seen, where these 2x4s were angle cut to level the floor. And we'll get into the reason why the floor was so unlevel here soon. Now you may notice that there's been quite a gap in the action here, and the reason for that is because we had a couple contractors lined up. I had made the determination that we were going to re-side the whole thing, and I got an estimate from a guy to do the siding. He sent me a material list. I got that on order, and then as soon as it came in, I let him know. I said, hey, I got the materials on site, 24 square siding, we're ready to go. And he keeps telling me, hey, I'm 6 weeks out, I got this job, I got that job, whatever. I said, hey man, as soon as you're ready, we got to do this. I mean, I got to get the show on the road. I'm already past the date that I wanted to have the renovation completed at this point. And that'll be covered in my recap video. Well, anyway, after that, I got another contractor come out, talk to him, and his price was higher. I wasn't sure I was going to be able to pay it. And next thing you know, I find out he's not bonded and insured. So I go, all right, I'm just going to have to start ripping into this thing myself. I don't really know what to do at this point. I got to make some progress while I find another contractor. So here I am. I've decided that the stairs and the deck on the back of the home, they've got to come off. I mean, they're nasty. It's unsafe. It's not really built right. And so I'm just going to rip this thing off to see where we're at. As you can see, I don't really have a method here. I'm just ripping at it, hitting it with the hammer, just trying to get it to come apart. It was a mix of screws, nails. Some of it would come apart easily. Some of it, took a lot of doing. So I also just kind of try not to fall off the deck and get hurt while I'm doing this. And then here at the end, I end up with a nice pile of debris and an open deck. So now we get to the good part. I know that the wood behind this deck board is completely eaten away by termites, and this is going to be the payoff where we get to actually see how everything's looking. And of course it doesn't want to come off. I don't really have a good strategy here. I'm just ripping at it, pulling as hard as I can. Now it comes off, the little piece of concrete comes off above the door. I got my pry bar, my hammer, just kind of beating on it, prying on it, doing whatever, trying to get this piece of wood to come free from the rest of the duplex. And now again, I've got a nice gaping hole in my building. Not really sure how I'm going to fill this in. This hole here actually ends up open for quite a while before I'm able to actually close it back in. So might as well take a minute to admire it. Here's a nice picture of the floor joists that are sitting on top of this 2x4, which has been wet and rotten. If I'm being honest, I don't know what we learned from this picture. Here's where it gets scary. This is my first time doing this, and what we have is a pair of 2x10s supporting the back of the house so that we can repair the sill plate. That powdery substance that you see is what used to be a 4x6 sill plate. As you can see, completely eaten away by termites. So I thought to myself, I need a tool that will get inside this gap and can cut a 4x6 in a very small space. What tool will do that? You might be thinking a reciprocating saw with a long blade, but for some reason my mind went straight to chainsaw. Okay, so a lot of preparation went into this, where we're now ready to put the first section of sill plate back in to this side. And of course it doesn't want to go in. Why would it? But eventually we get her to slide in. Here's a nice shot that shows the termite damage from the inside. So apparently we went on vacation, and when I got back in June, it was time to start ripping stuff apart again. I made the decision to take out these back doors, which would expand the kitchen a little bit, and then also I began to rip off the rest of the siding around the house. Again, I have to apologize for the fact that I am subjecting you to what amounts to a slideshow, and here's some more fire damage that we found. So as we get along, stripping off the siding and the wood cladding siding behind the aluminum, we find more and more problems, just a lot of sheathing that needs to be replaced. I would estimate that I ended up replacing about 1/4 of the sheathing in total. And then we have these nice rotten wood behind the stoops that we discovered, all good fun. And more rotten sill plate here on the south side, so I had to cut all that out, clean it out, put a nice new piece in. Shout out to the neighbor for helping me put that in. Thankfully, I actually have some footage here for you to look at. This is me pounding the old sill plate out, and yes, it's flimsy and rotten and eaten by termites all the way up to the chimney. That's supposed to be a 4x6. Oh, the carnage. It's terrible and yet beautiful. Oh, look, a window behind the siding. This window was definitely original to the house. It had all the old wood and everything. It was really actually kind of neat to find that, and yet disappointing because of the additional work. Now this gets to be a fairly important part in the renovation as I'm replacing all this sheathing. So you see that I'm working off of a piece of double-decker metal scaffolding that I've borrowed from my mother, and this is a 2-story project, and I obviously cannot get up high enough, and it was in putting in this wrap that I realized that tearing it down and putting it back together and only being able to get halfway up just wasn't going to work. And so at that point I had to start working on a better scaffolding solution. I had to go through this whole process of tearing it down, re-leveling it up the side 6 times in order to get that one piece of wrap up. And this footage is just cover footage of me working on the back of the duplex, but you get the idea. So I decided I needed to get up much higher, and I also needed to cover more ground. Buying a professional scaffolding setup just was out of the question because it was going to cost way too much money. I wasn't finding anywhere that I could actually rent something that was going to be suitable, and not only that, I wasn't sure how long this whole thing was going to take. So I set to building my own solution. And here it is. This is my own creation, made out of 2x4s and a couple of 2x10s. I got a 12-foot walkboard. I can go 24 feet high, and now I can reach every bit of the project. So I'm very happy with this. Here's my son helping me to erect it for the first time. And of course I sent him up to disconnect the rope that we used to pull the ladder up, because he's lighter and also he recovers from injury much faster being younger. Shortly after we built this, it became apparent that I needed another full set, so we took some time and built a second set to put them side by side so we can go fully 24 feet up and 24 feet across. And so this took a little while. It was a little bit of construction, added a decent amount of time, and in materials and everything cost me about $300. But I think this was a very cost-effective solution to get me up in the air so that I can work on this two-story project. So here I am replacing a bunch of the sheathing on the back side of the duplex where it was all rotten. And then the second set comes in and I'm able to do quite a bit more work with the additional walkboard and everything. This wrap went up in no time, unlike the other side, what I was doing with that steel scaffolding. This starts a momentous day because this is when the siding actually starts to go on, finally on October 19th. So enjoy this super sweet drone footage. So just like everything in this project, everything takes way longer than I feel like it should. A big part of that is I have no idea what I'm doing. But by November 1st, we've got one side complete. And then by November 2nd, we've got the scaffolding torn down. And this side ends up being the one with a few issues, but it still looks pretty good, if I must say so myself, which I do. And so now with a little experience under my belt, the next side goes up a little bit better. I got a little help. I'm more experienced putting the scaffolding up and down, and we get this knocked out. And this side looks way better than the back. So somewhere in here things start to slow down. Days are getting shorter. It's getting harder to work out in the cold. We demoed the stoops off the front of the house so that we could repair the wood behind them. So the last two sides here, we're kind of working them together, getting the wrap up, getting the siding up, and using the scaffolding as we have to, and taking advantage of the front of the house being closer to the ground. Finally some video again. Alright, so here we are, we're tearing the scaffold down after finishing the north side. It was cold on that side, so we were really happy to get this down, get back to where we can work in the sun. And speaking of the sun, here it is ruining my time lapse. And here we go with the last bit of siding. This actually went quick. One thing that did slow us down was having to frame the windows and install them as we went through each side. So each side has brand new vinyl windows. And finally, the long-awaited after shot. So we started on the decks now, and we made the determination that the concrete sidewalks had to come out. So I hired a buddy to come in and pour in the new sidewalks so that we could complete the decks and tie everything together, and it'll all look very nice. And here's more or less where we're going to end up. And so now it's time to address the basement doors and windows. So I had hired a bricklayer who is now wanted in 3 counties to help me with this, and everything went great, and we got brand new windows and doors in the basement. On this particular day, everything went really fast because I actually hired a few people to come in and work for me. The bricklayer that I mentioned before had brought his brother on the site, and I think I had my boy working with me as well. And also there's another guy that I have hired to work with me, and we had 5 people on site, and we were just killing it. This was probably our best day in the whole project. And since I don't believe in child labor laws, here's my son helping me with some demos. So here's the kitchen ceiling, stripped of lattice and plaster, wired for can lights, and the first bits of drywall going up. And here's the drywall going up on the ceiling in the bedroom. Here's it pretty much complete.
And then, yeah, that's pretty much complete. And then this is the front room of the upstairs, starting to get its first drywall. And then we see the front room getting completed with the ceiling there. Alright, we're more or less caught up, so that will end the slideshow portion of this series, and I promise from here out it will all be video. Thanks a lot.